What's up, comic book readers? Welcome back to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. If you're joining us on one of the live streams right now, thank you for participating in episode 44. And if you are new, we are a book club for people who like to read comic books. Every week, we take a different story arc or a collective volume, which we all read along together, and then we gather by these live streams to have a discussion, share our thoughts, views, reviews, and we will do a little bit of scoring at the end and see where this falls on the Nerd Herd leaderboard. So, episode 44. This week we are reading, it's a big one. We're reading The Eternals, Volume 1 from 1976. And Volume 1, I do believe, collects issues 1 to 11 of that first series, which was, of course, published by Marvel and written by none other than the King Jack Kirby, who also did the artwork as well. And just as a note, these volumes are getting a reprint. I think it's either this week or next week that the trade paperbacks are getting a reprint.
Nice.
So that we time that well.
Yeah.
And of course, folks, I'm joined by my co-hosts, and they are Deviant Phil from Phil's Nerdyverse.
Heidi ho.
Eternally Bored from Dawn of Comics.
Ahoy, hoy.
And Eternal Shelf Life. Da-da-da-da-da.
Shemai, everyone. How you doing?
It's the mother effing Scott Shelf. All right, folks, that is what we're reading. Are we looking forward to this one? We got the movie coming out, of course, so it's pretty topical.
Let's hope the movie's better.
Should not have asked that question. Should not. All right, let's have a look, see who's joining us for this episode. We have got the Highland G here saying, "Sup, party people." We have the Funky Gibbons saying, "Hi, D-ho." Howdy do you? We've got Triple G here saying, "Hi, all." We also have Adam and Caroline saying, "D-ho, hi." That keeps him on my toes, that does. And we have Tom from This Month in Movies. Evening all. Hope you are all well. You too, Tom. Hope you're not been traveling too much for work, mate. Daryl saying, "Hello. Hello to you, mate. I hope you're good this evening too." Fuzzy Dunlap, "Evening, people of the YouTubesville," says Fuzzy. We also have Beth. There she is. We don't want to miss her. We don't want to make her angry. Howdy to you, Beth. Hope you are. Well, I would pronounce that, but I don't know how. Scott, do you want to try?
Yeah, go on. Show me again.
Go on. You give that a go.
Hello. Hi.
There we go. We got Amy joining us as well. What's up, peeps? I do believe that's really weird seeing Amy. Amy, just shout hello.
Hello, everyone.
There you go. We have Comics Versus as well saying, "Evening all. I hope you're all good. Looking forward to catching up with this one tomorrow. Should be a fun one. Appreciate you stopping by, mate. Always a pleasure to see you here." And there we go. I think I have everyone, unless I am mistaken, Scott.
No, you got everyone, mate.
Excellent. Brilliant. There we go. All right, then. So it's Eternals Volume 1 from Marvel 1976. We're going to need a synopsis by the person that chose the book, and that is me.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're looking at me with accusing eyes, man, like, yeah, it was you.
You made us read this.
Okay, so The Eternals was written by Jack Kirby upon his return to Marvel from DC after writing New Gods. And essentially, I think he's considered his swan song for Marvel. And it sort of implies that the human race as we know is actually has three strands: Deviants, Eternals, and humans, which was made that way by Celestials, so giant out of space beings that came to Earth, and they experimented on the apes at the time, and then we got three strands of humans. The Eternals and the Deviants decided to hide themselves away. The Deviants being unstable of molecular or cellular structure. So they were quite hideous, and when they were born, you wouldn't know what they would look like or anything like that. And the Eternals were blessed with more than human-like abilities. I wouldn't say super, until something further down the line happened. Their leader causes an explosion. They get even more superpowers. And then you've got us mere plebs of humans who are just mulling about, not even having a clue that these people exist. However, we have noted down things like Ikaris and Mercury, who we interpret as kind of Greek gods, but they are in fact notes from when we have actually bumped into Eternals at some point. My god damn, this is a long synopsis. That is roughly it though, folks.
Yeah,
Spot on.
definitely.
Yeah, just to tack on to the end of that, we join the story here really from when the Celestials come back to Earth in order to stand in judgment of the life that they have created. There we go. I think that's where we are.
Yep.
Jesus, get your waves out. That went on forever. All right, then let's get to it. Then let's start with the art as we usually do. So let's go for it. Scott, do you want to go?
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. No, it was nice. Everyone has said, Jack Kirby is like, the king, the guy who has kind of defined and set the path and set the foundations for all, future artists in the future, that's been after him. But it was nearly 50 years ago that this was all going on, and art is a lot better now. I can appreciate his influence and stuff, but it hasn't stood the test of time, in my opinion.
I was looking forward to hearing your opinion on the art. I think more than anyone else on the screen here, because you being younger and a newer comic book reader. This is, like you said, this was written a long time ago. So I think you are kind of my judgment to see whether this has kind of stood up to the test of time, really.
Yeah. I enjoyed the colors were my favorite part of the art. The fact that you can do so much with just 3 shades of one color for suits and faces and buildings and objects and stuff. But apart from that, it was all nice and clean and stuff. But it was just the detail. I don't know. This was out in the 70s, so there's a lot of new drawing techniques and technology and stuff that makes it all a lot easier.
Phil, you look like you were going to say something to me.
My issue, and it's the same thing. You feel bad almost for kind of criticizing Jack Kirby for what he's done. He was an innovator essentially, wasn't he? And maybe if he was alive today and still drawing, his art would obviously could still be the best of all the current artists. But it's the jaw lines, it's the nose structures, it's the big foreheads. Like he has there's a real problem in everyone's faces, even like the female faces look very masculine and square, and it's just I can't really see. The standard of art must have been really quite, not poor, but to today's standards must have been quite poor then for this to be the top of the crop, because I just did not like the faces one bit.
I'm going to balance things out here. And I'm a huge Jack Kirby fan purely because he is an innovator. I mean, there's not just with his artwork, but his whole input into the industry of comics. There's even a rumor that, thanks to Jack, we had the idea of a trade paperback eventually as well. So there's a lot going for that man. And I think he earned the title, the King. And for me, because I am an old fart, back in those days of comic books, I mean, this was before my time, right? Let's make that clear. But, you had the artwork was very, very simple, but Kirby brought something else, the level of detail that man went to. And you knew if you were reading a Kirby book, like every kind of 5 or 6 pages, you knew you were going to get an outstanding splash page, like a double feature thing or a full page of some amazing artwork. And I do see what you mean about the faces and stuff not being realistic and things like that. But for 1976, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Jack Kirby at his worst was still better than most artists around at their time. That better than their best, in my opinion, for Jack Kirby. So I'm just going to throw that out there and balance that out.
You can throw it out there, and I will bat it right back to you.
No takebacks.
I mean, we've read Spider-Man and X-Men from around that time, and I find that art a lot more pleasing to look at and there's a lot more variety in like an X-Men book than there is in this book. I appreciate the man and I respect him. Obviously, this is nothing against the man personally. This is just my opinion on his art. I'm not a fan of this this style.
I think it's understandable. I think there's a few people. I know Tom, this movie, he's not a fan of the older style art in comic books. He much prefers to read modern. And I think that's perfectly acceptable opinion. I'm judging this purely on what was around at the time. And for me, it's unbeatable. You look at the backgrounds and stuff like that. Yep, you're limited to color use and things like that. But Kirby stuff always stood out. It was always vibrant. The characters, you could always tell them apart. You instantly knew who they were. I mean, this man had been drawing cartoon characters and comic book characters all of his life, and that comes across to me. Even whether you loved the writing or you hated the writing in this, the character design, I think, was cool.
There's no question. He's obviously responsible for some real iconic kind of character designs. I think like the Incredible Hulk and the Fantastic Four, like they're the kind of images you still see today on like t-shirts and posters and stuff, for merchandise, whatever. Like he's definitely obviously laid his kind of laid his mark on that art. It's just I'm with Shane and Scott that just in today's standards and the art we're used to, it just doesn't hold up one bit.
You want to gang up on me? We'll do it. It's fine.
I will say the colours are lovely.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed the colours throughout. As much as I didn't enjoy the art, the colours were fine.
I totally agree. Yeah, you could say a lot of things about this book. I think it is a diverse one, but the colours I think are phenomenal in this. The shades of greens and purples and things like that he used, and I think it was very fitting with the time. Like I don't think the word trippy would be out of place for some of his artwork. It is a lot of like spirals and very busy on the page and very colorful. It is a bit like an acid trip.
Another thing I really enjoyed too was I'm pretty certain it was every issue at the start of the book. You mentioned like a splash page. Every issue had a big splash page at the start of the book, didn't it? Like pretty much every one. And they were all quite, like you said, there's a lot of detail in it for that time, like the kind of Inca temples or, whatever it may be, like all that kind of different stuff. Like it did look like the splash page looked really good compared to the rest of the art. It's just the faces I couldn't get over.
Let's see what some folks are saying who are reading or have read or are watching along with us. We've got Alex Big Blue here joining us. How did you, mate? Hope you are well this week. Liam here is saying, unfortunately, didn't manage to finish reading, but wasn't overly impressed with what I did read. Ooh, okay. And Fuzzy Dunlap says, I read 4 issues during the synopsis. That's about right, mate. I can see that. And Triple G Comics says, really sorry, but I've never been a fan of Jack Kirby art. I can understand, I think for some people it might seem dated. I don't think there's no incorrect opinions here, that guys and Adam and Carl are saying the coloring was very intense for me, but I understand that was commonish back then. We have Arcade Pop saying, what's up? Howdy to you, mate. And Tommy chips in and he says, let's just say I prefer more modern art styles. One thing that has always put me off reading the legendary stories, he says. And I can see that. And we've got Mike, I've got to pronounce that, Mike's Oxlong says, sup boys. Howdy to you, Mike. Hope you're good. There we go. That's what a few people are making of it. And I think Tom's statement there, I think that's quite more common than you would think from my experience of talking to other contemporaries. Some people just don't like that older style of artwork. It really disengages them. And like you said, Jane, that's nothing against Kirby because that was his time. So I get what you guys are saying. But for me, who maybe is a bit more accustomed to that older style, I think at the time this was phenomenal for me. All right, should we get to the pages?
Yeah, bud.
Let's go ahead.
Let's do the pages. All right, Phil, you're up, mate.
Yeah, it's just one of those kind of splash pages that I had mentioned, and again, it's just the kind of detail he chooses to put into this. particularly with the kind of weapons, like the clearly like over imagined weapons and rocket launchers and all sorts of things there, like, and I just like all the kind of like the ruckus that's going on beneath the Celestial, and obviously him over powering over like he's towering above everybody. There's a few the splash pages kind of hit me when I read through it, and this is one of them. I just quite like the fact that the Celestial's bright red and yellow, and everything around is kind of like blue and toned down as well. I thought it was quite cool.
I loved the design of the Celestials in this. I'll be honest with you.
Did you not find it too apocalyptic, from Darkseid's parademons?
Yeah, that's one of the things that people criticize this for, don't they? They draw on a lot of the similarities between New Gods, and of course they were both written by him, so it kind of makes sense. A lot of people saying, "Oh, he's just trying to replicate at Marvel what he did over at DC." That is one of the criticisms I think Jack faced and still faces today over this. So I see your point. Yeah, totally.
I mean, what is it like? They're the fourth. What are they called? The fourth something. The fourth host, and then we've got DC's fourth world. So it's like he didn't change it up that much, did he?
the fourth host refers to the fact that they're the fourth visiting kind of wave of Celestials, aren't they? Like, we've been visited 3 times prior, and these are the fourth wave that are visiting us. So yeah, I see your point. Like, there are a lot of similarities. You can't get around that, I think.
Colours are fantastic, though.
Oh god, yeah. Scott, you quiet, man?
Yeah, I was going to say you can kind of see how influential the designs of the Celestials are, purely based on that tiny 5-second clip you see in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film with the Collector, because you see the Celestials in that, and they look exactly the same as what they did in this book. And I thought that was cool, and definitely a big nod to Jack Kirby's art there.
Yeah. Tom here is saying, I've lost his comment now. He was saying, he said, don't get him wrong. I do enjoy the stories, but just sync with the older art style. But some of the splash pages, wow, you can really see why Jack is a ledge for his time. Jack the Ledge. And Liam saying, I do really like the use of the colours. And Highland G is saying, I don't mind older art styles. I do cut that off at the spotted colouring style they did way back in the day. Yeah, when they did the dots. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a couple of those issues. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I kind of think it has its place for me. Like, is it my kind of go-to pick up? No. But when I read it, I do get a bit of a nostalgic feel to it. But again, being a bit older, there was a lot of that around for me to read when I was a kid. Are we done with this one?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked his art style more had I liked the characters. I think that was a bit of an issue for me. Had they been more well known, maybe.
Well, I mean, they're not going to be well known. He wrote this from scratch, didn't he? This was
no, I know, but I'm saying his art style with well known characters, I enjoy it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Even though you mentioned that, maybe I'm being too harsh, but even by today, are the Eternals? I know they're making a movie, but are they a big thing? Do they have a huge fan base? I wouldn't say they would.
I would agree. I don't think that they would either. I don't think. I mean, me myself, I've got the omnibus here as well, and I couldn't say I would put it on my list of things that I would recommend for people to read. I think I'll tell you where this is good before we move on.
The herd.
No, this is what I say. I'll tell you where I think it is good and it is useful and it is interesting. Is if you've been reading comic books for a long time, particularly Marvel, and you want to kind of discover some newer stuff, and where that may fit in and have an impact in the Marvel universe. This is pretty good for that. Because again, we try and stick to what we're talking about, which is volume 1, but further down the line in the second series, they retconned the hell out of Eternal. So it does feed into lots of other touch points, historical touch points in the Marvel universe, such as the Inhumans, the Kree, Thanos is Allah's his son. So that technically makes him the cousin to, Athena in this. who I think is going to be what's her name?
Angelina Jolie.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, Angelina Jolie. So there's a lot of touch points in this that get retconned further down the line. So I think you've been reading Marvel a long time. This is one you'll probably find interesting because you may have some knowledge of that Marvel universe. Shall we move on and do another page?
Yeah.
Scott and Shane.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun. Go on, Shane, you go.
Well, I picked this because I love a big superhero splash page, and to see everyone like in a massive superhero action flight pose, it was just fantastic. And it's one of the pages where I don't actually mind the faces. Like even this girl in the pink, like close up to the camera, her face isn't like terrible. So I enjoyed this, and it was just great to just see that.
She's got a really good jawline.
Just for a bit of context, this is where they're kind of assembling into the Unimind. You know, for those that haven't read along, maybe this week, the Eternal. One of the powers that they have is that they can essentially all kind of like, what's the word? Like amalgamate together, merge together and become one giant mind to kind of share information and solve problems. Very much like us four here. I think that's a great page. Scott, why did you pick it then, mate?
I picked it because there was no other page I wanted to pick, for one. And I don't know, there was this kind of just the collection, you know, all these people, you know, coming together for one cause. I don't know, I found that kind of you know, a bit inspiring, you know, the most inspiring part of the book, to be honest. And then, you know, all the colors, everything is so vibrant, and it is great. But, you know, the one thing, you know, I know this is us picking a page that we do like, but the one thing I didn't like about this page is the fact that everyone has the same facial expression. Like they're all just this deadpan, you know, expression, apart from the, you know, the King Eternal at the back there.
But that's their we're all about to merge together facial expression.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't pick up on that in the footnotes. I didn't see.
Well, maybe they need to have that face in order to do the merging. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't look like they're looking forward to it.
No, and they're very, very scared the wind will change. So there you go.
Tom here is saying the colouring is really good. You're able to pick out each hero, but the faces, he says, exclamation mark. Yeah. I can see what you were saying about the faces. I knew the faces were going to come up, especially with
the thing with the faces. There was one page, I don't know where it was now, but there were three women standing next to each other. And all I could think of was Jack Kirby just using like a female face template and just changing the hair. Like that's honestly how it looked. It just looked like every face was exactly the same, just with a different.
Yeah, I think Liam's saying the same thing here. Take away the costumes and colours, and they'd all be identical. He says there. Okay, I'll show my page real quick here. I chose this one. Just to highlight, you know, the level that Jack Kirby did go to. I mean, this is at a time where, you know, you almost still had that kind of 4-color panel. You know, if you go and read some of the Captain America stuff around this time, like, yeah, it's vibrant and colorful, but you don't get that kind of detail in it. You don't get that kind of epicness. You know, the shading on the faces and the background, and it's like every part of that page is used. Even the detail of the kind of the blast and, you know, the smoke and the fire in there. For 1976, that was incredible. You know, there's no getting around that, you know. And the expressions, I mean, look at the expression on that guy's face. Like, Kirby did have a way of conveying emotion. You know, you go back and look at maybe, like you said, Shane, some of those more well-known ones that people be familiar with. Just look at the expressions in the faces. Kirby was really good at that. Very good.
The expressions are definitely a lot better than the shocked faces in The God Butcher.
I think also, the Deviants were great because they weren't the human face. So he was like, if they were a bit mangled, they were meant to be. So it's fine. I think it was just the human faces I had a problem with.
But saying that, because the Deviants are all meant to be different and they don't know what they're going to be like when they're born. But judging by those 5 main ones, you can see they all have the same dentist.
Yeah, but you have to say there that the deviants have that ritual where if you're born and your cell structure is too different, they basically cart you off, don't they, and send you to the a fiery pit somewhere, in order to kind of like keep their gene pool stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see that as well with the battle of the rejects later on in the book as well.
Yeah.
The rejects.
Yeah, the reject guy. Yeah.
The most handsome man in the world. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was proper chiseled. That guy was, man.
Yeah, it was Phil. Yeah.
And just that just shows, just like, because we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Okay, has there anybody got anything else on the artwork? No?
No.
That's a real shame. There's so much can be said about Jack Kirby. But yeah, okay, we will move on to the writing then. Phil, you wanna go first?
Sure. I actually really enjoyed the start of this. It really lost its way in around issue 6. I don't know what happened. I think the stuff that happened with the kind of intertwining the kind of history of the Eternals and the Deviants and the humans and incorporating the Inca people, the fact that I've written it down here, lost history, hidden chapters in the history of man. So they've always been there. The man didn't know because that history is lost because the Celestials went away. I thought that was quite clever. And there's a lot of kind of like Back to the Future moments where like they kind of reference certain things in history, like Attila the Hun, the Great Fire of Rome, or something else, Merlin, Noah's Ark, all those kind of things are kind of referenced that the Eternals were there and present at that time. So I thought that was great. And it did remind me of a real kind of 70s sci-fi cheesy TV show with overacting and terrible graphics. But I was really enjoying it up until the truce. So they go to New York and have this big ferry battle, and then they just have a truce. And then I don't know what happens after that. They have this battle of champions. They do all the other stuff. It's just like, it just changed course for me quite dramatically. And I would have liked to see what happened with the humans kind of going to battle the Celestials later on.
I wonder if, and I don't know, but like I said, I've read the omnibus here, and in there it has the original letters that were printed, and it says in there, like, this caused a lot of controversy back in that time because there were a whole bunch of Marvel fans that didn't want the Eternals in the main continuity of Marvel. They didn't want them in that universe, and there was a whole bunch of fans that did, So I wonder, because it seems to me it was about halfway through this that they kind of made the decision, yes, it is going to count in the Marvel universe. So I wonder if that's the flipping point there that you're talking about.
Yeah, because didn't they have, was it Sersi? She made a human into the Thing, and put the Thing head on a human or whatever and stuff like that there. So there's a nod to that, but that was maybe issue 7 or 8, so it was later on, obviously.
Yeah, because before that, everyone just seemed shocked to see people with powers, and it's like, but by this time you've got the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, like these, they're all around. So why are you so shocked to see someone fly? Or it was a bit weird.
Yeah, I think that was the intention. I think those first issues were Kirby. I personally, my belief is that Kirby wanted to write something that would, be that epic. It would literally be lodged right into Marvel history. And those first few issues, I think, were him feeling his way out there and not knowing whether he was going to be allowed to be in continuity or not. Mm-hmm. And I think once he got the nod, I feel the pace shifted in the book then, for me at least.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I agree with Phil, to be honest. Like, the start of the book was very easy to follow, and just it was just easy to follow. And then as soon as the more deeper you get into multiple storylines, it felt like Jack Kirby was kind of losing his way a bit more, like struggling to keep hold of all of these ties, and it just kind of just felt like it was, I could still understand what was going on in each story, but it just got a bit messy, and I felt like I had to really unravel all of the the storylines there. But like, I think the one thing that like I think maybe this could have done less of in terms of the writing was the amount of narration in every panel. Like I think like I didn't need to know that someone was going to step forward, and I didn't, stuff like that. And like it was, there was so the narration sometimes was so minute. I was like, you've shown me that in the panel. Like you don't need to also tell me, like, you could have used that space either, for more dialogue or just for more art. But I just thought the narration was a bit much.
I think we've got Adam and Cole here, and I think Tom's agreeing as well. And Coral here saying, I got 20% through and then gave up. The constant narration was so disruptive for me. I don't need to be told things are intensifying. Let that come in the dialogue and the art. 100%. There you go. I think that captures exactly
I didn't read
what
that,
you're
by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's a comic book. You show, don't tell. You don't need that much narration in a comic.
I think there's a mixture of both involved. There's times when you need to tell and there's times when you need to show, but this does go over the top on the telling. I think I would not agree with anybody about that. This is heavy on narration, and I don't think it's a mature story either. I found this kind of not immature in that sense of the word, but like when we read Maximum Carnage and it was kind of like, let's have a fight and then run away, and then let's have another fight and then run away. I found it a little bit like that, and that irks me a little bit, because I'm just kind of like, come on, develop the plot a little bit quicker than you are, And personally, having read the whole thing, I think this could have been chopped down a hell of a lot, in my opinion.
I noted down a good example of that. This is a small thing, but I just thought it kind of highlights that perfectly. So there's a part where Ikaris is outside the apartment door. It must be sersi apartment, and it describes him standing by the door and sending a thought wave through the door. But they explain that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like you don't. It's just it's absolutely old school, kind of like they don't have technology like them days to send a text or something. But you don't need to explain that. You just she just knows he's there and opens the door to him or something. Like I think they had to explain him sending a thought wave through the door. Like I just thought it was quite. Unnecessary. There's a few things like that throughout.
Triple G, he's saying, he says, from what he's read, Kirby was trying to prove he was a storyteller to support his ongoing disagreement with Stan about who created early stories, and I'm not sure this helped his cause, says Triple G. Woo, Pete.
Ooh, meow.
I would kind of agree with that, really. If he was doing it for that reason, I don't think this is the best example of storytelling. Yeah. I mean, like, I am a huge fan of Jack Kirby's art, but the writing in this was very, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't use the word lightly, but in parts, this was a little bit boring.
Yeah, one of my notes is dull. I was bored for the majority of this book.
For me, it was like a slog. I think that's the word I want to use. I can imagine it would have been great as a monthly thing, But the fact that we've had to read this in such a short period of time, maybe that's what has made it hard to read, But if we did read it monthly or something, would we have been okay with the amount of narration? Would we have been okay with the storytelling of it all? But we'll never know, I guess.
I want to say the one thing that he did do well for me in this was the characters. I think there's a lot of characters in this, and of course we kind of go through history with the Eternals and the Deviants, and I think you've got to give it up for Kirby. He made those characters instantly recognizable, Carcass and the Reject and Ikaris and Sersi. You knew straight away who they are, and you're not going to forget them now. Let's be honest about it. If you see a picture of Carcass or Sersi, you will know who they are now. And that doesn't always happen. Not for me, at least. If it's something I've read quite a lot or regular, then it will stick. But I've read this once and it's stuck. So I think I have to give it up for Kirby there. His characterization was brilliant in this.
Yeah, this was something that I noticed, in myself as well. I've read stories which have multiple characters, and people know from Airwaves last week that my memory is terrible. Mm-hmm. It obviously shown a lot to me that just by seeing these characters, 3 times max and just seeing their names dotted around, I could remember them, and I was really happy with that. And I think Kirby really, he done well with just adding these people's names in, but not in a forced way. It felt natural where their names were placed and stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was happy with that.
Yeah. Shane, how about yourself, mate? I know you got notes, a lot of them.
I just found it hard to root for the good guys sometimes, because I just felt so sorry for the Deviants. Like, they were just literally told they were the bad guys because they were ugly, and like, I just feel that was just quite harsh. And it wasn't even turned around. Like when Thena goes down to like their layer, and you think, oh, she's gonna see that it's not just the outside, it's the inside that matters. And she's like, no, I want the handsome one. He's coming with me because he shouldn't be down here with you munters. I was like, what? You went down there to see that they're not evil just because they're ugly. You were supposed to, look inwards, and instead you go, well, no, he's too good looking to be down here with all this ugliness.
But again, to play the devil's advocate, this was 1976. People's opinions were very, very different back then. It was very, in parts, very stereotypical, wasn't it? The way that some of the women behaved, and almost undoubtedly. But again, it's a book of its time.
Yeah.
Just to touch on something here, this is useful for people. Triple G is saying a great show on the History Channel called The History of Comics. Last week's talked a lot about Stan and Jack's relationship. It's a good watch. There you go, folks, on the History Channel. Pete recommends.
Nice.
I think for me, I think that this wasn't the best written Marvel book. I don't think it's going to be. If you want to get somebody in to reading comics, don't recommend them this. No, I don't think you would want to. It's convoluted in places, and it gets very dull in places, but the characters are super fantastic. But what I want to do is, has anybody else got anything to talk about?
I just wanted to ask a question. I had a note down here that in issue 8, they all of a sudden referred to the Deviants as the Toads. Was that changed? Because I don't recall them being called Toads at the start.
No, because they live in Tode City, don't they? That's their capital, and that was another issue I think people had at the time, because their land or world that they live in under the ocean is called Lemuria, I think it was called. And people were going, hang on, that's come up before in the Submariner comic books. That's like the next place over from them. So if it isn't in the continuity, how does he know or not know where they are? It was another one of those things that people were kind of pulling at, at the time, because that's in the letters in the omnibus, as I said. People bring that up. So, but Toad City was the capital city. So that's why I think they were calling them Toads as well. Scott, you going to say something?
Yeah, the bit you said about not recommending this book, like the only reason now I would recommend this book is if you had just watched the Eternals movie, or wanted to watch the Eternals movie, and you wanted a little bit of background reading and learn maybe more about the history. If you wanted to go into the film with some knowledge, then that would probably be the only reason I would recommend reading this book.
Okay, I would recommend it for the artwork as well. For me personally, on a personal level, I would say, if you enjoy Kirby, you're going to love this, because it is beautifully done. The colors, and I'm a huge fan of colors in comic books. Like, the right palette can just make me go, wow, and this did that for me visually. I'm maybe not coming down as hard on it as everyone else, but what I wanted to have a little, because we know the movie's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we've all seen the trailer as well. I wanted to have a little chat about how we think this is maybe going to translate into the film. Are they just going to tell a straight Eternal story, or do we think they're going to use this, as I said, not so much what we've read here, but the retconning of stuff that comes down the line? Are they going to use this as a springboard to maybe get to some other stuff, or what do you guys think?
I think similar to the kind of X-Men stuff, how do you explain them just being there and not being there before, with the whole Thanos snap thing? So this story might come into play that way, where it's lost history and the Eternals kind of stayed clear, all that kind of stuff. So I think they will pick things like that from this book.
Well, they do have one connection, don't they, that I can think of that already exists in the MCU. They did meet Thor.
Did they?
Yeah, that's in a retcon much later down the line. You find that, but Thor has been alive that long, he simply forgot about them. I think that's, I think that's how they put it. Yeah, he's just like, I'm a busy man. I've been alive for like God knows how many thousand years. I can't remember everything.
Wow.
Yeah. How about you, Scott? What do you think? What do you think? What should we expect from the movie after reading?
So, like, well, just judging by the trailer, I think, like, you know, they show a lot of stuff about like growing older civilizations, don't they? And like, I think they talk a lot about that in the book, but they don't actually show any of that. So maybe they're just like picking bits, you know, here and there from stories that they've talked about but not necessarily shown. So they're going ahead and showing some of that stuff. But in terms of the plot of the film, I have no idea what's going to happen. like, are we going to see the Deviants? Is there going to be an explanation about the whole, you know, Celestials took a monkey and now we're all here because of that? You know, yeah, that kind of thing. But
again, there is another thing. We have seen a Celestial already in the MCU, haven't we? When they go in, is it Guardians of the Galaxy? When they go to the Collector, his base is inside a dead Celestial's head, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, nowhere.
Yeah, nowhere. Exactly. Yeah, that was it. Well done. Well remembered.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shane, how about yourself? What do you think we're gonna?
Judging by the trailer, not a lot. Just boring nothingness with a bunch of unlikable characters that just have no screen presence whatsoever and dull costumes. Not as great as the costumes that Jack designed. I think they've done him a dirty with the design of their costumes. They're very plain in the film. Yeah,
I think they have to do that for the movies, though, don't they? Because you know, like, can you imagine if they'd have done Hawkeye in his original? He'd have looked like a right dickhead, wouldn't he? Come on.
They kept his color scheme though. It's a darker purple, but it's still purple. But in the trailer, they look nothing like this. The colors weren't even anywhere near them.
I think there is one image that I've seen where Ikaris does look like he's wearing a dark blue suit, and he does have circles, but they're not red, and they don't stand out as much. Like, it's pretty much kind of like a bit more subtle.
In terms
I can't
of
even tell. Go on, sorry.
Well, you go, Scott.
I can't even tell in the trailer who is going to be Ikaris. That's the main character, isn't it? That's the He-Man guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that in the trailer when they say, you know, who's going to lead the Avengers, and he says, right. "Oh, I could lead the Avengers." That's Ikaris.
He's the guy who was in Game of Thrones, and this is that's the one. And this is what I'm going to kind of refer to. Like, I just don't see, like, at the minute, I feel like it's like, reading this, I feel like it's wrong. Like, he wouldn't really suit the role. I don't even know why. I just get that impression he isn't well suited for this role. And Angelina Jolie, who is she playing Athena, isn't she?
Yeah, Athena,
she'd be more suited for Sersi, I think, in this. Just based on the personality, you know.
When they announced it, I thought that was the gig that she'd got. But when the trailer and stuff happened, I was like, oh, clearly not then, because it's the girl that was in what's the one about the androids, humans? Yeah, she's Sersi, isn't she, in this?
And I know they've obviously switched genders of two characters. I think Ikaris is going to be a female lead.
Yeah, correct.
I think there's Ajax, that female lead too, maybe.
That's going to be Selma Hayek, who plays Ajax.
Right, yes.
And they've also swapped out the young kid as well. Like Shane shared that one of him getting spanked in one of the panels. That's not going to be a boy now. It's going to be a girl as well.
I am looking forward to seeing Selma Hayek. She's good and everything.
Have you seen any of her movies?
I don't pay attention to the movies.
He doesn't listen to what's being said. He clearly just watches the screen, doesn't he? But I personally think they're going to maybe use this as a bit of a springboard movie. I think this is going to be a queuing up of something else for me. I've just got that feeling because they didn't give a lot away in the trailer, which to me suggests two things. Either they haven't got anything to give away, it's going to be a really boring film, or there's a lot in it that they're not willing to even hint at or share right now. And I think it's probably going to be the latter. I do. Yeah. And I think we're getting Crow in this as well, aren't we? I think Crow is going to be in this.
So the Deviants will be there. That's good.
Yeah, I think so, because I think somebody leaked a picture of the Marvel Legends, and Crow was one of the figures. And if you pause it at a certain angle in the trailer, you catch a thing or something. You know what people are like.
At the end of the day, like I trust Marvel to kind of get it right, at least to make it watchable. Like they've obviously done that with Guardians of the Galaxy with like a nobody team that nobody really cared about, and those movies were great.
Yeah,
So
but that was back when Marvel movies were good.
I know, but I still trust them. They have my trust.
I'll be here for you when the film comes out, and
I like Captain Marvel, so it's the stuff.
All right, we're not here to debate the whole Marvel universe. I think that after Black Widow, I'm a little bit skeptical going forward now. Like I didn't enjoy Black Widow as much as I thought that I would, and it's literally kind of right down the bottom of the pile for me on like the ranking of those films. So I'm hoping it picks back up a little bit with Shang-Chi and Eternals and stuff. I'm hoping we're not going to get like a year of filler. You know what I mean? Like
because this is like the start of Phase 4, isn't it? This is Phase 4 of the movie. So
Phase 4.
Yeah. I trust them.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get something good out of this. And again, that could be anything. It could be, more plot and story around Thanos and, Titan, where Lars is and stuff and all of that. We could get some of that. We could get some Inhumans off the back of this. Could go to a lot of places. We could even get some Celestial stuff, where that ties into other places. So who knows, man? It could be interesting, despite
I'm going to go in with low expectations.
Me too.
I'm not going
to especially after reading this as well. I'm going in low after reading this. Yeah. Let me just. Have we got the noob in here as well? Howdy to you, mate. He says, "Yeah, it was terrible."
Really terrible.
I think what he said a comment here. He said, "I read this 6 months ago and didn't enjoy it at all." Is what he's saying. And I think they were having a little chat in there then about how good it was. Triple G here saying the trailer was dull. Not the story isn't right for that. Said I don't think anyone was expecting Guardians to be so good based on the original material. Got a point, man. Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. All right, folks. So I suppose it's that time. We've had a little chat about the art. We've had a little chat about the writing. Give some people some examples. So you know what time it is. It's time for the glasses to come off and the glasses to come back on. If you've read along, Scott's got his holiday glasses. If you've read along this week, folks, you know what to do. Drop your scores in the chat 1 to 10. We'll collate them and we'll see what everybody thought about the Eternals Volume 1, which was issues 1 to 11. All right, let's get it going on. And let's just quickly before we do that, say hello to Paulo Costa. I'm late, he said, but I'm here. Hope you had a nice dinner, mate. Phil, over to you, buddy. You know what to do.
Okay, so as I said before, when I first started reading this, I quite enjoyed it, but I went into the mindset of like I know nothing about Eternals, and I want to kind of get to know the characters more for the movie. So I feel like I got that from this book, what I wanted. Now, after the kind of battle of New York and stuff, like it just took a turn I just didn't enjoy. And Scott used the word slog. It was a slog after that to get to the 11th issue. I do like the stuff like it was built around kind of myths and legends. So the humans' idea of like the devil and stuff are based on the Deviants and them showing themselves before in previous years. I loved all that kind of intertwining of history and stuff like that. And but that's where it stopped after that New York battle, and I just didn't enjoy it after that. And the artwork, I can appreciate what Kirby's done. Obviously, it is 1976, but it doesn't hold up till today for me, and the faces are really odd. I'm not going to be too harsh. I think I'm being fair. I'm going to go 5.5 because I did enjoy the first half of this.
Ooh,
and just
Lord.
didn't enjoy the final half of this book. So 5.5 for me.
It's a 5.5 from the Deviant himself. Shane, over to you, mate.
Same as Phil, I enjoyed the myth side of it. Like, I thought that was a great idea to have this team of superheroes who have been around, and they were the Greek gods, the Norse gods, the Roman gods, they were the Egyptian gods. Like, that's such a good idea. And I just feel like it didn't carry on. It started out like that, but then they just decided to change it like halfway through the book, and I was a bit disappointed. I enjoyed the start of the book. And then I just got really down. It's the same problem I have with these long Marvel stories. They're too long, and the story they're telling isn't long enough for the amount of issues they have. I find that every single time with these 12 to 15 issue stories. I enjoyed the start, not so much the end. I don't know if I'd continue. The art for me is not my cup of tea. Colors are great, but I can't get behind this art, the faces, me personally, obviously, I know he's a legend. I know he's well respected, and I do respect him. It's not him. For me, because of good start and the bad ending, overall, I think this is going to be a 4 from me.
Okay, it's a 4 from the Eternally Bored. Over to the Eternal Shelf Life then. What are you going to say, mate?
The same as everyone else. We had a great start, and then just the more that got added to the story, the messier and harder it got to join in with and actually feel immersed in this. It just, you'd feel it was the other way around. If there was a lot of stuff going on, you'd feel more immersed and interested in all these storylines. But for me, it just got harder to get into it and get through. Like the whole historic side was really cool. I think you said a couple of weeks ago, Dean, when we were talking about this book, like this is a history book essentially, but it was being made at the time, by Jack Kirby, and it was such a fantastic idea, such a brilliant concept. I think just like and the execution at the start was good. I think it just kind of dipped. The art was, like I said, the designs in it were touch and go. Colors were fantastic, but it's cool to see how much influence Jack Kirby has had on, future Eternal stories and, just future artists in general. This story, I'm going to give it, it's going to be a 5 from me, I think.
It's a 5 from the shelf. All right, then, folks. Let us take a quick look and see what everybody is saying here. I know we have quite a lot of did not finished this week from the looks of things as well. So we've got the noob here saying 2.5. This made me want to gouge my eyes out. So boring, says the noob. Coral and Adam here are saying I can't rank it because I didn't finish it, but this is the first one I haven't finished. So what does that say? Ha! Like, ha in your face, Jack Kirby. Paulo says Eternals is supposed to be more conceptual, not realistic. The characters are distilled ideas in human form. Yeah, totally. I think that's not unfair. Triple G Comics, Kirby's classical guy is the king of his time, he says in brackets, but not a good storyteller in this. It's a 4 from Pete there. What else do we have here? Hold on, chat is just skipped on me. I'm looking for any more scores. We got Liam here as well. It says, I know I didn't read it all, but based on what I read and what you guys have said, it would have to be a 4 out of 10, says Liam on there. Tom as well comes in with a 5 out of 10. So the story was okay. Art style is by a legend. So 5 out of 10 from Tom there. Okay. All right. Hang on. We just got a comment here from Pablo Costa as well. He says there was another problem most people weren't aware of. Marvel editorial were purposely sabotaging it, and Kirby was pressured to add more Marvel characters, hence the unnecessary Hulk robot issue. Very true, mate. Yeah, he was being driven in certain directions, and again, ultimately led to him just leaving it all over again. All right, okay. So my final thoughts on this one are: I won't say I hated it. I think it's taken a bit of a bashing because it's obviously been, this is a kind of backseat story that's been thrust into the limelight thanks to Disney and the MCU. So I don't know if people go into it looking at it from that context. I think people are going to be a bit disappointed. Did I enjoy it? I did, but I think I only enjoyed it because I read the entirety in an omnibus. So I think when you get to the second series, which isn't written and drawn by Jack Kirby, and all the retconning starts, it starts to feel a little bit more like it fits more properly. But these first 11 issues just did not fit or sit well for me. I loved the character design. I loved the artwork. I could look at those pages all day for me. They were beautiful for that time. Brings back a lot of nostalgia. And I'll stand by what I said. I think Kirby at his worst was still better than most other artists at their best for his time. And I don't think that this is an exception for me. The writing, though, it really fell down on this. I could see what he was doing, and I almost admire him for trying to do that, to cement something there into Marvel. But again, there's a lot of similarities in what that we've seen before. I don't think you can get away from that. There was the early issues of continuity. Is it going to be? Is it not? Like we said, from all those letters, it was a huge thing around at that time. But with me shutting up and getting on with it, I think I'm going to give this a 6.5 for me.
Thanks.
And again, a lot of that is driven by the art and just how well Kirby handled the characters for me in this.
Great.
Cool.
All right. Let's see what everybody thought. Like I said, we had quite a lot did not finished, but this comes out as a 3.9 from everybody watching along.
Low.
Ouch.
That is low.
And us on the screen here have given it a little bit more of a generous score, 5.3. We've given it. So the question is, as we ask every week, where does it fall on the Nerd Herd leaderboard? And 5.3 puts this in, I think, joint 25th with Rise of the Midnight Sun.
24th.
24th, sorry. There we go. Yep, that's 5.32.
In all fairness, this kind of went where I thought it would go, because like we are essentially spoiled for like art these days, really, aren't we? So this was never going to really have that kind of chance of getting at the top, in my opinion, just because it is nearly 50 years old.
I don't know, man. Like Gods and Mortals is up there. You know, we do have some of the older art style up there. I think is Gods and Mortals the only one? Could be. Oh, we got Spider-Man. That goes back to the 80s as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, suppose.
You know?
As long as Maximum Carnage is still good above this. Well.
See, I'll be honest. I think I enjoyed this more than Maximum Carnage for me, because I think it felt a little bit more cerebral than Maximum Carnage. Maximum Carnage was just like people hitting things and then running away and then coming back to hit things again. You know, at least this had a little bit of a concept to it. You know.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's where it falls. That is where it is at 5.3, joint 24th place on the Nerd Herd leaderboard there. How do we feel about that? We all right about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it's above Dave 2. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine where it is, yeah.
Well, there we go. That's where it comes in. That's the average of what we all thought about it. Let me just tell you what we are reading next week then on the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Next week is episode 45, and we are reading The Sandman Volume 1 from 1989, which was Vertigo DC / Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what we're doing. There you go. Obviously, Neil Gaiman. So, Scott, you're going to be excited because I know, like me, you're a Neil Gaiman fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I am massive fan. Yeah.
So, you go, folks. Tune in next Wednesday if you want to read along and join the conversation about Sandman Volume 1. Tom is excited already. He's doing thumbs up and peace signs right there. And Liam also says, looking forward to reading Sandman. All right, then, folks. Let's get to it then. Let's because I can see the time's ticking on down. We don't want to keep these good people. Sorry, the newbie saying, is that the next read? Yes, it is. That is what we're reading next week. Let's just go around and let people know what we're going on this week. What's new in the world of people on the screen here? Phil, over to you, mate.
It's going to be no surprise to anybody that there's absolutely nothing occurring on my channel. I do have plans to do something. I'm actually going to rearrange the little man cave in here to have a better recording setup. So once I do that, I'll be able to record stuff. But that's weeks away. So sorry I have nothing new this week. Big surprise.
You're slacking, man. You're slacking.
I know. It's terrible.
Now you've said you're slacking.
Over to you, mate.
Nothing from me either, I'm afraid. I'm working on the next quiz, so all my time's being taken up with that at the moment.
Awesome. Do you know when that's likely going to be happening for people?
We're going to be recording it on the 22nd.
Okie doke.
So
There we
I
go.
will get it out one day a week following the 22nd.
There you go. Pencil in that week, folks. Just block out the whole week. Is that it from you, Shane?
Yeah.
Scott?
So Comic Airwaves was on last weekend, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it now. It was really fun. But this weekend on Sunday, the 8th at 7 p.m, we're going to be doing the next auction. We are going to be supporting the Pancreatic Cancer UK. That's who we'll be supporting this month, and we have got tons of stuff to sell. Thanks to everyone who's donated. It's been a fantastic haul. I'm not going to show anyone because it's all a surprise. So yeah, so do come on down that time. It's already scheduled on the channel as well. So if you need a set reminder, go ahead and do that on my channel. But yeah, that's all I've got.
There we go, folks. Turn up and do some good for pancreatic cancer on Sunday. Did you say?
Yeah, Sunday, not Saturday
Sunday.
this time. Sunday this time. Yeah.
I was going to say because you confused me there. You switched it around.
Sorry.
All right then. Excited, Scott?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
There we go. That's what everybody's up to. And I never usually have any news, but I have news this week, folks. I have news. And much like the Eternals was Jack Kirby's swan song for Marvel, this episode will be my swan song for the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I've made the decision to step away from social media, so I will be handing over the reins to these gentlemen who will be seeing you through to reading some amazing comic books. Yeah, that's going to happen over the course. So I won't be here next week. That's happening. This is the last episode, but the Nerd will carry on. Let's just put that in there. It will carry on. Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a huge roller coaster of a ride on YouTube for the last couple of years for me. I have met some fantastic, awesome, genuine, and I think the phrase salt of the earth gets bandied about a little bit too much, but in this case, I think that there is some real salt of the earth types around. 3 of them are examples on your screen right now. And I want to just say thank you to all of the 3 here and all of the people that read along every weekend that have come and hung out or said hi. Again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, because I've enjoyed being able to host this for you and be a part of creating this little space that we have on Wednesdays. So yes, folks, we are at the end of the line for me, but as I have no doubt that whatever these guys have planned for you, it's going to be awesome, and they will continue to do it in the spirit that this was created in, to be inclusive, to be interactive, and to provide a nice little space of cool people. So yeah, there we go. So all that leaves me to say for the final time is get your waves out.
Bye everyone. Love you.